My work is very largely about space, and I work from the space that the piece is going to be in. And what I'm trying to do, for the most part, is to find a way to activate that space, to make it into a special place, a place that changes how you feel when you're in it. And that space in the Burgin Gallery was, in fact, a very interesting space, a space that I had been looking at for quite a long time. Because it's an L-shaped room. It's a room that was designed to function primarily as a single room, but in fact never functioned that way. For the most part, split itself up into two separate rooms. So the thing that interested me was to try to accomplish with a piece of sculpture what I think the architect was trying to do, but didn't do as successfully as he wanted to, which was to find a way to create a complex, changing space that held together as a single, very calm and very silent room. So that was my first idea. So I planned that piece around the room. So the piece is actually the combination of those steel bars and that room.
How did you arrive at the size of the pieces and the intervals between the bars, etc.?
They had to fill the room. They had to present you with something between a barrier and an incentive to walk into the room. I wanted it to block you, but not completely block you. I wanted it to invite you, but not completely invited you. I wanted that ambiguity between yes and no, between do I walk through it or do I walk around it. So it had to be big enough to stop you, but not too big to stop you for long. It had to be close enough together to give you pause as to whether to walk through it, but not so close together as to convince you not to walk through it. So all of those things, all of those decisions were really based on that notion of drawing you into the room and slowing you down. I feel, without question, I use what probably should be called a minimalist vocabulary. But I don't think of the work that I do as being minimalist in the sense that the people who called themselves minimalists were working. I feel that the minimalist, one of the most interesting things about that early group of minimalists was that they were trying to create objects, art objects, that were exactly what they were. They were just what you saw is what you get, is what Judd said at a certain point. They were exactly what they were. They were pieces of material arranged in a certain way. They were squares, they were boxes, they were fluorescent lights, they were exactly what they were and nothing more. But one of the things that I noticed about that, and not only me, but many other artists of my generation, was that these objects also carried, at least in certain circumstances, enormous emotional power. The material is enormously important to me because the material, and again, this is an interesting thing because it's not the idea of the material, it's the feeling of the material. What's important to me is that these bars of steel already have a set of connotations. Not only intellectual connotations, but emotional connotations. They are, a slab of steel is an object whose mass impinges on us. We can feel it. We can feel it in a way that we can't in a more complex shape of steel or construction of steel. But just a steel bar or a steel slab, we feel that gravity, we feel the mass, we feel the weight pushing down. We also automatically, without thinking, know a lot about that material. We know it's cold to the touch. We know it's hard. We know it's heavy. We know we think of it as being fairly rough. It's an old, familiar technology. It's a technology. Steel is a material that almost seems natural, even though, of course, it's man-made. But it's very close to the division between what's natural and what's man-made. So all of these associated, these ideas and feelings and knowledges associated with steel are the materials that I use.